Well, we begin with breaking news from Gaza, where a United Nations staff member has been killed in an attack in eastern Rafah. The UN has confirmed this is their first international staff casualty in the Gaza Strip. The UN personnel was killed after their vehicle was struck on Monday morning. Another staff member, we understand, was also injured. The United Nations Secretary-General has condemned the attack, calling for a full investigation. The UN says 190 of its workers have now been killed in Gaza since October the 7th. The Israeli military has repeatedly targeted humanitarian workers during its war. Well, Gabriel Elizondo is standing by for us at UN headquarters, but first, let's speak to Hind al-Khoudari. She's in Deir el-Balah in central Gaza. Hind, just a few hours back, you were telling me about the reports that you were getting that there'd been a strike on a UN vehicle. What do we know now?
All we know so far is that the United Nations Department Safety and Security employees have been targeted. We know that it was live ammunition. It was not an airstrike. A staff was killed. Another was injured. We do not know the nationalities yet, but it's obvious that they were two internationals. It was very hard for us to reach that area because it is in Rafah, and it's a very dangerous area. But we know that they were targeted as they were traveling to the European hospital in Rafah. According to our colleagues that went and took footage and documented the incident, they said that their cars were part of a convoy, and the convoy had live ammunition. And this is all of the info we received and we know so far.
We'll be staying across that story for you here on Al Jazeera. Hind, we'll leave it there for now, and I'll come back to you in just a moment. I want to speak to Gabriel Elizondo. He joins us from UN headquarters in New York. Gabe, we now do have official confirmation from the UN Secretary-General's office, I understand.
Yeah, that's right. We just got that within the last hour or so. Clearly, the UN headquarters here in New York, they're still trying to gather important information to piece together exactly what happened. But clearly, they know that, as my colleague there was reporting, that these two UN staffs are international staff. The one that was killed, they're waiting to release their name until next of kin is informed. The second person, fortunately, we're told, has moderate to mild injuries, so expected to have a full recovery. Let's listen to a little bit more of what a UN spokesperson said just a few minutes ago about the situation.
We learn of the death of a United Nations Department of Safety and Security staff member, an injury to another DSS staffer when their UN vehicle was struck as they traveled to the European hospital in Rafah this morning. The Secretary-General condemns all attacks on UN personnel and calls for a full investigation. He sends his condolences to the family of the fallen staff member. With the conflict in Gaza continuing to take a heavy toll, not only on civilians but also on humanitarian workers, the Secretary-General reiterates his urgent appeal for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and for the release of all hostages.
Is it fair to characterize this as an attack?
Yes.
Now, you heard the spokesperson there say DSS staff member. That's the Department of Safety and Security. They are essentially security personnel that are UN staff that work with humanitarians in conflict zones around the world. This is now the 190th UN staff member that has been killed in Gaza. Clearly, the UN is rattled by this, and all deaths hold the same weight, of course, but of course this one being a little bit different just because it's the first international staff member. We expect perhaps later today or tomorrow to get the identification of this person and what country they're from. Again, the Secretary-General calling for an investigation, and also it's important to point out that they were traveling in a convoy that was clearly identified with UN labels and including the UN flag flying from the back of the vehicle.
Gabriel Elizondo there with the very latest for us from the United Nations. Thank you very much.